Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Catalina Gillies.
And I'm Ryan Bonazzo. Thunder Bay Police have charged a Toronto man with first-degree murder following an incident on the city's north side.
Officers were dispatched to a reported stabbing in the 200s block of Park Avenue just after 9:35 p.m. last night. Alex Flood has the details.
This was the scene on Park Avenue today, less than 24 hours after a 36-year-old Thunder Bay man was stabbed in the city's north side. Paramedics transported the victim to the Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Center for further evaluation, where he was later pronounced deceased. Khalid Ali Mohammed, a 25-year-old male from Toronto, has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder. John Fennell, the detective inspector with Thunder Bay Police, says a detailed investigation is underway.
So our identification officers have been there all morning, now that the daylight is approached, to ascertain all the other evidence that we weren't able to see last night in the dark. We know that that's been a hindrance on people that live in the area, unable to get to work this morning with their vehicles as an example, but they're processing the scene now and will be there majority of today, if not into the early evening hours of tonight.
Fennell added the crime scene is quite large, covering sections of both Park Avenue and Cumberland Street. When asked if the homicide was related to the drug trade, Fennell said the motive surrounding the incident is still unclear.
It's so premature into the investigation at this point. Motive is very difficult, and as things unfold, I'm sure we'll have a much better picture here in the very near future with the investigation.
The name of the deceased is being withheld at this time. Anyone with information is asked to contact Thunder Bay Police or submit a tip to Crime Stoppers. Alex Flood, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Transit drivers have voted overwhelmingly for a strike mandate as their union heads into conciliation talks with the city. Danielle Bain explains when the drivers may be in a legal strike position.
ATU Local 966 President Fred Caputo said the 150 drivers and technicians he represents feel undervalued after offering an essential service throughout the pandemic. Members of the union took part in a vote on the strike mandate at the Moose Hall Sunday evening. Caputo said he was happy with the outcome.
I'm pleased. The membership voted 96% in favor of a strike mandate, and it just sends a clear picture to the City of Thunder Bay that we want a fair agreement.
City Manager Norm Gale provided a statement about the situation, stating, "We appreciate the diligence and hard work of the city's transit union Local 966 staff during the COVID-19 pandemic. Public transit is a vital service. The parties are awaiting the appointment of a conciliator from the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development. If conciliated talks don't produce an agreement, the union could be in a legal strike position within 17 days of a no-board report from a conciliator." Caputo hopes it doesn't come to that.
Hopefully things go according to how we're hoping they go, and we get a fair deal. We don't want to go on strike, but if that's something that we have to do, it's something that we're prepared to do. Our members are prepared to do this.
Danielle Bain, TBT News.
Thunder Bay's Hato restaurant is set to start serving its famous breakfast again next year. Finlandia Cooperative of Thunder Bay announced today it signed a lease with BK Realty Investment Management to reopen in the original space next summer. The iconic Finnish restaurant that's famous for its pancakes had filed for bankruptcy in May of 2020 after the Finlandia Association was dissolved because of a nearly $1 million debt. Following their liquidation, a GoFundMe page was started to save the historic restaurant. The cooperative was formed shortly after, with plans to purchase the 110-year-old hall and eventually reopen the Hato. Brad McKinnon, the owner of the Finnish Labor Temple, says it was imperative to bring back this slice of history.
The Finnish Labor Temple, it's a cultural icon. It's a heritage piece. It's a rallying point for people on Saturday morning to come and have breakfast. It's a people in the community to meet, to make memories. It's such a wonderful property, and it's so important to the Bay and Algoma area. And I felt a need to come here and save the building, renovate it, bring it back to its former glory, and hopefully allow it to last for another 110 years.
Because of the extent of renovations being done on the building, the restaurant won't be open until at least June of 2022. The cooperative is, however, planning on bringing more merchandise to market and is considering either pop-up restaurants or opening at a fixed location on a limited scale in order to test menu items and train staff.
The Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting one new COVID-19 case over the weekend. It comes from a First Nation community and is a result of close contact with someone who's already contracted the virus. There are currently 2 active cases across the district. Meanwhile, there are 2 new cases being reported by the Northwestern Health Unit, both coming from the Rainy River District. There are 4 active cases across the NWHU catchment area.
Good news for restaurants and small businesses in Ontario. Premier Doug Ford says the province will release its plan to increase capacity limits sometime this week.
We want to make sure we have a plan that will stand the test of time moving forward. We never, ever want to shut down this economy again. And everyone from frontline healthcare workers to the people of Ontario, I'm very, very grateful. I want to thank you. The reason we're one of the leaders in the world with this vaccine rollout, it's not me, it's the people. The people and the healthcare workers. I went to a vac center today and they were so organized, and that goes for so many of them across the province. So stay tuned.
The Premier has been under fire from business owners for moving too slowly to loosen restrictions in places like restaurants and gyms while allowing large venues and sports arenas to operate at full capacity. The province's digital vaccine certificate is available for all vaccinated Ontarians to download today. Ontario had been rolling out the codes according to birth month over the last few days. There were some issues early this morning. Sean Leathong has the latest on the QR code rollout.
The rollout of the province's vaccine QR code is available for all, but this morning, some were having trouble downloading their proof. High volume leading to long wait times like this, where one account was told there were somewhere between 4.9 million people or 12,000 people ahead in line. Then the line was paused. In a statement, the Ministry of Health says, "We're currently experiencing high volumes of downloads. A few users experienced a brief technical issue earlier today, which has been resolved." Since the QR codes became available on Friday, the ministry says there have been 2.5 million receipts downloaded, and that includes 215,000 this morning alone. But in the race to get the QR code, the government has also said you don't have to download and you can continue using the paper slip.
We still have to keep that for people that aren't as savvy on the tech side. Like I'm not the savvy guy on the tech side, that's for sure.
Even though the paper slips can easily be forged, Premier Ford said today while in Windsor, Essex, that the paper slips are necessary.
But not everyone, carries around their cell phone. I'm talking elderly parents. So we're going to make sure that we still have the little vaccine certificates.
Also, this comes as the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario is placing a restriction on the practice of 2 doctors against issuing exemptions for vaccination, masks, or testing. Doctors Mark Trozzi of Harrow and Roshane Killian of Owen Sound have each been critical of pandemic restrictions in the past. Today at Queen's Park, opposition leaders said this issue has been influenced by the Premier's past resistance to proof of vaccine mandates.
We know that Ford didn't want to do this. We know that he got dragged to a certificate program kicking and screaming. As a result, it was late and it's inadequate.
The Premier has made it clear that he isn't a full and firm believer in vaccine mandates and the vaccine certificate. What Doug Ford has managed to do in this regard is actually undermine how strong the position is for the government of Ontario and therefore for the people of Ontario.
The Ministry of Health says they are encouraging as many people as possible to download their electronic QR code.
Plans to build transitional housing near the Boys and Girls Club on Junot Avenue have hit a funding snag. The project is intended to provide housing as well as education and employment services to Indigenous youth struggling with addiction. Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services had planned to start work on a 58-bed facility last May, but was delayed by the pandemic. Now the agency says a lack of operational funding is holding it back. A long and costly legal battle over zoning with opponents of the site caused the project to miss out on funding opportunities, they say, with those funds since directed to other communities. The Housing Services Corporation and its partners say they're moving on alternative options and remain hopeful. 4 years after the body of 18-year-old Braden Munoz was discovered on a beach near Prince Arthur's Landing, the man accused of being responsible for his death is now standing trial for second-degree murder. A trial against Patrick O'Keefe opened in a Thunder Bay courtroom Monday, with one of the lead investigators taking the stand to testify. The trial will continue and is scheduled for 10 days. O'Keefe has pleaded not guilty to the charges.
A Lakehead University professor has published new research that could help find new green energy sources to replace fossil fuels. Professor Dimitar Alexandrov has been working on his research into non-radioactive nuclear fusion for over 4 years. He was able to confirm that using deuterium, nuclear energy can be released without any radioactive waste. Alexandrov thinks the recent results are very promising for the future.
We consider that the next step could be development of prototype of the well energy source. This prototype will be, this actual energy source will be green, completely green, carbon emission free, fossil free, radioactive free, weather independent.
Depending on funding, Alexandrov expects that prototypes for the energy source could be developed in the next 18 to 24 months. He hopes the development will ultimately help address climate change.
As part of the 2021 Step Up campaign, Delico Anishinaabe Family Care recently hosted a virtual event to give Indigenous youth the chance to express their views on how the community can step up to show that every child matters. This year marks the 12th annual Step Up campaign in support of National Child Abuse Prevention Month. More than 20 local young people attended the Come Together youth gathering, which featured several guest speakers providing motivational talks while engaging with participants through a number of games and prizes. One of the evening's highlights of discussion surrounded the importance of change and the role it plays when standing up against abuse and insulting nature.
If you go back in history, you will see things where people attempted to step up and make positive change. And that's the key. We need to make positive change, we need to make healthy change, and we have to learn, even more importantly, how to respond to that change.
Delico's Step Up campaign will continue throughout October as they encourage everyone to wear a purple ribbon or their favorite purple outfit on October 27th.
Fort William Historical Park's new $10 million road is almost complete. The secondary access will improve traffic flow during large events. Like the existing road, the new route is located off of Broadway Street. Construction on the road started last summer after planning work that dates back to 2009. The road includes a recreational trail and complies with the Ontarians with Disabilities Act by including rest stations, which include charging stations for electronics. The majority of construction is complete, but a few upgrades like the operator on the main gate are still to come. Acting Manager Patrick Marash says the road was required to address past congestion and delays on Kings Road.
And by having this secondary access road, it gives us an opportunity to help people come into the site, first of all, and to leave the site if we have large activities or large events taking place. So people now have the opportunity to come up the new road and head east on Broadway, or come up King Road and continue west on Broadway. So hopefully traffic would move that much more quickly.
Marash notes the regular entrance remains open for visitors as work continues on the secondary access.
Well, Fiona, we continue to hold off those fall temperatures.